In this episode, we dive into Localise's latest AI and analytics feature, how AI is shaping translation workflows, dealing with hallucinations, and improve automation. Plus, we break down Localise analytics, how it tracks efficiency, compare AI to human translations, and help teams optimize their localization process. We've added chapters so you can jump straight to the parts that interest you most. And let's get started. Today with me is Alex, product manager, senior product manager from Lokalise, and we are talking about AI in localization. We were talking about the difference between the AI machine translation wave in the early 2010s, right? And we want to understand, what do you see now as a difference between that wave and the current wave of innovation with AI?
Yes. So we were talking that the current AI conversations are very similar to what we have had before in the industry in early 2010s when neural machine translation was introduced. And it sounded very human. It was a huge improvement over previous generations of translations. So people were like all freaking out that, hey, translators will all go away. And companies were coming on conferences and saying something like, now we offer a menu. There are cheap translations. There are expensive human expert translations, and all these kind of conversations were going on. Translators were confused and like scared that it will take the jobs away and so on and so forth. What changed now? Back then, the biggest challenge was that workflows were tailored for humans. How do you find the right experts to translate your content? How do you assign them? How do you prefer one over another? Who are on holiday? All this, how do you pay them? All this kind of overhead you have with humans. No one really knew, except a couple of companies like Microsoft who did a lot of technical translations before. No one really knew how to fit it really into like your daily job. And a lot of companies were like figuring it out this for the first time. This time with AI, you just switch from Google Translate to DeepL, from DeepL to OpenAI model, one model or Anthropic model or some other model. And it just perfectly fits into a machine translation without any changes. And you can experiment. You can see what's going on. This is the first change. And the second change, if you remember, when we were working with only humans before, we were always asking like, can you give us more context? Oh no, we know this is a helicopter we are doing documentation about. But like, what are the parts? How they are named? Can you give us more specifications, more context? And now with AI, it feels a little bit easier to talk about this because now people, at least who we are talking to, or maybe I interacting with, they're a little bit more aware that AI kind of works better if you ask them not just give me the best possible thing, but provide more context. And now it's easier to ask for the context. So we have same workflows like before, and before we were not able to really get a lot of context automatically. It was always based on some passionate location managers who like spend their personal manual time there. Now we have like, okay, maybe it's time to invest because you can see that with people sometimes they don't trust that they will use the context because, if you have like 50-page document of style guide for like 10 words job, you don't expect people will read all of this. With AI, it will read and it will find what's important. So this is changes. First, it's very easy to inject AI into existing workflows, unlike before. So the friction is way smaller. At the same time, with AI, there are new requirements coming up. So we still need to change workflows, and that's where new friction comes. And it comes way earlier than before. Now, it's not in translation, but on like, how do we get things for translation to us?
I see you are very passionate about that. Alex, that was a great summary of how AI is changing the way we think about the process. And now I would love to go into Lokalise and what kind of considerations you have taken into account when you have improved AI translations in Lokalise, because you have been on top of this product release, if I'm not wrong. Tell me, how does it look like and how do you deal with hallucinations? It's another topic. Like, we have a lot of buzzwords out here, and hallucinations is one of these things people might be afraid of when using AI in translations. So Why don't you share your screen and we look at how Localized is handling all this?
Sure. First things first. I'm Eastern European, right? So I'm a little bit more on the critical side of things versus, more optimistic side of things.
Okay.
So instead of working on AI in Localize, I worked on a thing which like, is the AI actually working for people? So I was working on this part and we did it as part of the overall analytics release. And how do we know if AI actually like useful or it's actually helpful to switch into AI? So one of the examples I will quickly show like what we have. So it's very tricky to get customers to share their own information and data. So we had a few anonymized examples we obtained. So what it means, how it looks like, what it means AI works, right? And hallucinations. Do we even need to care about hallucinations, or can we just observe what it means for us? The main hypothesis is that we can just observe what it means for us. What it means. Hallucinations is some kind of awkward error AI does. What it means for us, we need to pay somebody to fix it, right?
Right.
So we don't really care what kind of error AI did. Was it hallucination? Was it some technical glitch? Whatever. Doesn't matter. Somebody needs to fix it. So what it means with AI, what we found is that if you compare this chart for now, so we see like for this specific company, they were doing machine translation in roughly, translation in this case is kind of a software UI string. So they did 1,000 of software AI strings, machine translated, whether it was Google or DeepL, I don't remember exactly, but they were doing machine translations in September, and you can see like it was 1,000 things, and about 20% of them required manual intervention from somebody. Again, was it glitch? Was it UI? Was it accuracy? Was it style? Doesn't matter. 20% of them required manual intervention to actually check them. Now, having the same reviewer, having the same product, having the same process, just switched with AI with additional context to it, what it does, it improves the edit rate. So now only 6% of the segments or translations or keys in software needed manual intervention. So now, do we care about if it was like hallucinations or whatever? No. We know that now we can spend less money and often we can spend less time with AI. And at some point we can decide, do we even need for this specific project, for this specific content type, do we even need to get human reviewers, or we can get by without just with AI? So again, I'm more about on like skeptical side. I would like not to dive into like all the buzzwords and things, but like what it means, what it practically means for us, right?
Yeah.
And my suggestion is just to use like, do we need to do more work or less work because of AI?
Right. How does it look like in practice if we dive into Localize and let's assume I'm a project manager and I want to start a project now running like you just showed to make to get these gains from the AI and Localize. How would I proceed there?
Well, this is the cool part, is that in Localize, analytics work in a way that it doesn't require you to do anything special. So you just work the way you work in your projects. You import content, you translate, you get it out the way you want. There are many ways people use Localize. It's a very flexible platform, but we don't require you to set up anything for tracking. We just get analytics from the internals and fundamentals. And what we did, we just packaged analytics in a way that you can read what's going on without building your own dashboard, without needing to like set up your mindset and fix on specific things. We kind of pre-build it for you for the main questions of like, how much do you translate? How much it takes to release a new game or to release new feature, or what it means to how, for example, useful your TM is. You don't need to analyze it in a special way. You can just see how many edits you have there versus a Google Translate or versus AI. And you can see that some customers, is they actually are better off using Google Translate compared to their old TM because they will edit less as a result. And these kind of things we already like pre-configured. So you don't, as a project manager, you don't really need to care about how do you collect data, how do you pass it. You can just get it from the way you work with Localize.
Can we see something? Can you show some of the magic happening? Because this channel and my purpose always is, get away from words, get into action, show the actual product, and
Sure.
get a sense of how all this looks in reality.
Sure. I have my own personal project which I'm using for testing. It's not a customer one, which supposedly have much
Perfect.
better like view. Right? So what you see right now is that this is how a localized dashboard looks like, where you have some projects, filter, and so on and so forth. So the way you use Localize doesn't matter for analytics. It will capture anything from whatever you do. And if you go to analytics from here, that's where everything begins. Is that so? See, like this is my demos and my demo. So in this case, I was doing some tests in October, some tests in January, and so on. And this is, for example, reflects. Imagine you have a game release in October. You had a huge preparation for the release, and then you're just maintaining what you do. In Localize, we care about both things, new strings, but also we found that for software specifically, there is a lot of iterations on the same things.
Continuous localization.
And often stakeholders don't really see them as new content. They like asking like, hey, we don't have any new features, so why are you always busy? They kind of don't see the iterations they do on a preview thing, which you still have to do. And the way we structure it, I have it in my own, so you have all zeros here, but the way we structure it is that whenever you ingest content into Localize, we kind of trying to put it into buckets, what is what. So we know what kind of amount of base words you have, and then was the first time translation, was it TM, was it humans, was it machine is Google, DeepL, these kind of things, was it AI translation, was it some automation that you build yourself kind of kicked in, or maybe some of your vendors went to the offline, they exported a cliff, did something on fire, and so on. So now, again, everything here works without you needing to actually tag anything or mark anything. It just works exploring how you use Localize itself. And then, unfortunately, one of the most useful graphs here, but I don't have here. I don't have in my demo account. So let's focus here. The human translations and the translation memory. So each of the methods have the same metrics. How many they were touched, how many of them were edited later, and what is the edit rate and distance. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to say, hey, no matter how you get your translations done, they should be comparable. You should be able to compare your TM versus your human translation versus something else. And I will switch for now for this screenshot because you see it's exactly the same, just a little bit different visualization. So in this case, you can compare machine translation and AI in the same terms, and you can compare it with TM, and you can compare it with human translation. So you can see in the same exact numbers. So you don't need to think differently about AI, because for processes for your life as in localization, it's the same, and it should be compared as the same thing.
One question. So is this previous to the actual translation, or do you want to have your project managers to run these test estimations, quality estimations upfront before going to the actual translation, or how does it work?
This is handled a little bit different by different companies, right? So it's not up to me or up to Localize to kind of set up it. It's up to customers. Some customers are a little bit more optimistic, so they just go all in and start doing it and observing how it behaves in practice. Other customers, they do a pilot or some kind of tests to see how it compares. So that's why in analytics, for example, we have these different filters by key tags or project tags or project IDs, where we can help you to limit the statistics you see from all of your content, for example, to one specific pilot maybe you're running for specific project, or maybe you are doing some keys you're sending via Google, some keys you're sending via Lokalise AI, and then you're sending all of them to the translator. and then you kind of doing like blind test if they will edit them or not. So you can do it via key tags filter as well that we have here. So in this way, it's up to you. But the best practice, I would say, it would be like run a pilot, and not necessarily to test AI, but to learn what you need to use AI. Because it's different. With Google, you can just send strings. With AI, you have to provide context. It does such a much better job with the context, just like a humans, by the way, and you should always be sending.
Of course. It's the same for human as AI, I suppose. Alex, what about customization? Can we customize AI output with Localize at this point?
Customize AI output. So this comes to the context. So you can send context in multiple ways. You can send context as a description for a specific key. Or maybe I could show. Give me a second. So for the AI specifically, what we can do. Give me a second. I will do the project.
Okay, so we are creating a project live here with the dashboard. Okay, we are adding keys manually.
Yeah, for now I will just do it. Homepage,
okay.
Banner, hero.
Of course, there's other options like uploading files to the system or via API.
Yes, and also what I'm doing here is just for testing because,
of course,
if I can, so most people actually will do it automatically. So this is where Localize shines, when you connect with your system and you go back and forth without any things. It just, for the sake of our conversation here, I'm just doing, let's say it will be for our web app. So once we have a key, it's a key is a homepage. So now engineers, they can use the homepage to this homepage key to show the welcome to Localize on your website, mobile app, whatever.
Right.
In the key, what we have comments, keyboard, and screenshots. For example, you can attach your screenshot to a key and so on and so forth. So inside the key, you have the description. This and what we can do, something like this is part of the what's coming up. So it was St. Valentine's Day before. Let's say something like this, right? And what it does, it provides a context for the AI that if you use the same descriptions for multiple keys, it will understand that, hey, this is part of one campaign. The topic of campaign is this and that and so on. So this is like how you can do it on a key level when you like have a specific key, right? So you can say something like this screen, this is onboarding screen, whatnot. Another part of it is that outside of specific key belonging, there is like context of like what's going on today, what's going on right now, right? And in this case, when we create an task, and Localize sends the descriptions to AI together with keys. And when we create a task, and we have description here, this is.
And these tasks are assignments to translators or to AI in this case.
It's exactly like you said. You said that as a question, but actually this is a correct statement. It's good in Localize. There is no real difference between tasks to AI and task to translation. Like in analytics, there is no real difference on the metrics of what you see between AI and manual translations. So let's do the AI, for example. This is St. Valentine's campaign. Be playful, and I don't know what really to do about this campaign.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so we translate from German, and the good part is that sometimes you don't really want AI to redo your translations. So if you have a good TM, you can just reply behind messages. I hope I don't have anything like this, and I can just now. Some people go all in on the side, right? So they just save AI translations straight to the TM, so they can reuse, and so they don't need to pay again and again for the same AI translations. Some people are more careful, so reviewers will save it to TM. You know, if it's a good translations, we will be like, in this case, we will be like on the more bright side, on a little more optimistic side. Okay, so now task was done, and it was completed. If we go to the editor, we will see here. Now, I don't have example right now that like what in German will be playful or not, and also our key about welcome to Localize. Don't
in this case, it's a little bit tricky. It could be high to localize if it's like more casual, for example. But welcome by localize. It's a very good translation.
Yeah, and again,
Standard
this is
translation.
the whole point of AI, that a lot of our translations don't require creativity, or they're not really requiring any special expertise. When you say like, hey, log in, sign up, cancel, enter 5 characters to your password, whatever, right? A lot of the things, they are standard. They've been said a million times already. So this is where AI shines. Now, where humans come is that sometimes if you have a campaign, now you need to do wordplay. Now you adjust to a SEO. You need to double check that everything kind of feels right. And that's where humans go. And as a human, I can see like, okay, Willkommen is right. Jan said it's right. Then I can just mark it as verified. And now this version will go to production.
But Alex, there's a new feature I've read about. This is AI suggestions as well.
Yes.
So if I'm a translator, how can I use AI to optimize my output? Okay.
Now, if imagine I'm a reviewer and I want to be even more playful. I want to be like unconventional here. I don't know. Let's push AI and let's make welcome to Localize something different. Instead of playing with key, right now I'm experimenting. I'm playing around, right? So in this case, we have even one more place to add the context, So you don't kind of mess up with any automations. You can just do your own exploration. And that's how you actually experiment. That's how you explore what could be done. If it works, we can pass it to the key description, for example, right? Let's do it.
Why don't we say that our age group is up to 20 years old? Is that a good description? A good like context information?
Let's see. And again, this is a very important part. There is no like good and bad things. Models change a lot. So a lot of things that were working like a year ago are not necessarily useful now. So the good thing is just to check. But what I would add is like, so the translation should feel natural.
Okay.
So what, right? Like the same as I would do. Okay, doesn't work. Let's rephrase.
It stays with the same thing. Okay. Hey, welcome by Localize. Okay, we're getting closer.
Let's push it a little bit more. Okay, now this works.
You have added you have used the try again button, right?
Yes.
To generate a more different alternative to that one.
Exactly. And you see, like, I'm not doing any prompting and stuff. I have the same context and just, again, give me more, give me more, give me more. And, okay. And these things, a moment. Okay, it lost me. Give me a second. Yes, I'm back. Okay, so remember, like, we haven't changed anything. It's same context, same everything. We just like click and try again, try again many times, right? So this is one thing we can do. We can make it shorter. Again, let's see what we can get there. So you see, we have like some kind of intermediate step, like hell plus Dubai localized beast, or whatever it's pronounced. And then from there, I'm making it this version shorter. So I can play a little bit with it. And this kind of playful interaction is something different from the previous wave of technology, right? You really was getting almost exactly the same translations for the same source. Here you can play a little bit. And that's where it enhances. So it could like inform what you do as a human, right? And you can just get inspired a little bit more.
Alex, how does translator, how should translator use this feature and stay productive and, don't waste time?
Don't waste time.
Yeah, because, we are playing around. Yeah, okay, we get this one, that one. Yes. But this all adds up and we have a word rate based pricing model in most of the contracts out there. So how can we make sure that translators have speed and earn a decent money and do not get lost in playing around with AI?
It's a very interesting the way you ask question. How can we ensure that translators earn enough money? There are a couple of things, right? So first, I would still keep agency within translators, right? So
so human
if I would be a translator, how do I ensure I can get enough money and so on? So there are two things. So first, there are content types. There is technical documentation. There are technical, I mean like user guides and knowledge bases for software and stuff like this. I'm not saying nuclear reactors, or I'm not saying how you build a building, right? There are different technical documentations and different risks associated with them. Also, there is like product UI, which could be a lot of formalized already. So you don't need to spend time on some type of content. At the same time, there is like new marketing campaign comes and you need to provide search ads, and they like 5 words, or like I forgot what the limit. The limit is like the 50 characters, something like that. And sometimes in English it fits, but in French it doesn't. What do? That's where humans are, because AI, it will hit a limit at some point. No matter how many contexts you do, it will hit a limit and it may not click. So it will be syntactically correct, but it's not clicking. It's not get the feeling. So that's where I would rather spend my time and position myself as a headers, like where I'm enhancing what AI does versus trying to go into like technical documentation of product UI and just trying to churn huge volumes. I would rather try to get out of the words, because AI does it better when it comes to the amount of words.
Let's get one step up on the project manager level. So customization on a project level, is that possible currently with Localized? Not on a string level, but on a project level, so that we have the full context for this project, and that the AI understands perfectly well what's the target, what is the aim, what is the documentation, the reference documentation for that project, for all the translations with it.
This is very interesting things, is that we found that people don't often supply documentation really on a project level, but documentation often comes in terms of briefs for the specific feature launch or briefs for specific marketing campaign. It's very rarely you have this kind of brand guideline for everything everywhere. And also, even for one company, you have different products. Right? So one product may have a little bit different branding than another. So this is where the documentation goes. And for projects, there are some obvious things first. Like before getting into anything complex, the first things first is that in projects, just name them. And most people like naturally get this. So we do send the project name. And most project names are actually meaningful. It's something like, it's either one-off, like some campaign, or it's like product UI for, let's say, for Riverside.
Right.
And AI will kind of get it somehow. I don't really know how, but if you name things precisely so your colleagues could figure out what's going on in the project, it's very likely that AI will get it as well. And so naming project is like stupid first things. Then there are descriptions when you can let a little bit more. But again, I saw some people like do like 5 pages descriptions. It's not helpful, because the more context you provide AI just for the humans, it will start like ignoring some parts of it, and you don't really control what parts will be ignored. It kind of, for the luck, being concise, being precise is more important for project managers. So if you can fit all your context into project name, this is ideal. Don't try to get this perfectionist thing and like try to do it everywhere. Just this is a product UI for a fintech company, whatever. It's often a very good start. It could be get you very, very far.
So in one word, it's less is more, right? Less is more. Less context, less description, less, be precise what you said.
Yes.
Be on the point. Don't confuse AI with too much instructions, and the system will get a good prompt.
Yes.
Alex,
just like with humans, you don't want to spam your colleagues with 50 pages.
Totally. Don't waste time, right? Alex, we have to wrap up about this part. There's still things I would love to discuss with you, because we haven't talked about AI language quality assessment, which is also part of the new AI improvements, I understand. So how it works, what kind of error it detects, how do we speed up the whole process? Would love to talk about this in the next session with you.
I would rather if you can talk to Adam about this.
Okay, with Adam.
He was working on this, and he can give you like the really like meaty insights versus me, who is just like user and side observer.
Perfect. So the part of language quality assessment, I will talk to Adam, another product manager, great product manager from Localize. And I'm super thankful, Alex, for today's session. That was extremely insightful. It was a great discussion. And I wish you all the best for the future AI developments here, and hope to have you on the show sometime soon again.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Thanks a lot.